Goldratz, Necromancer Extraordinaire. Welcome to the Wizard's Manse. Greetings, adventurers and heroic champions of the lands. It is I, Goldratz, Necromancer Extraordinaire, at your service. Today, we have something of great and ancient power, one of the finest pieces of Uber Demon Demise collection. Oh yeah, it's the Hero Quest episode. Stay tuned for more shortly. And here we are behind the Dungeon Master screen. So, Hero Quest, what can I say about this game that hasn't already been belovedly said by the Bard on Bardic Broadcast? If you haven't seen the Why is Hero Quest So Great video, I will put a link in my description below, so check that out. Again, also, Patreon is live. Link will be down there, as well as a link to my Twitch channel. Our Twitch channel, I should say. But just wanted to start with the box art again because of the great fantasy art by Les Edwards. One thing that the Bard has in his collection that I'd like to curate for mine someday is the art book of Lance Edwards called Blood and Iron. Very hard to find, very elusive, very costly at this point. So it's a rarity. I'll be considering myself fortunate if I ever come across that in my adventures. So we're going to pan down here a little bit. May need to scooch things back a little more. I'm trying to be somewhat careful because this is a vintage copy of the game. We'll just do that for now. That for it. That works. That's okay. So we've got, of course, the game board. And oh, look, a token fell out. You got, the logo down there, and this, you can tell this copy's seen a little bit of love, but it's in fairly good condition overall. I'm not going to belabor the point too much on the board, and we put the board down. Another thing that's fairly unique with this set, and we're going to have to just position this back up, is this armory sheet. So you got armory sheet, and you got instructions on what the various pieces of tiny furniture are. And this was pre-3D printing, so you had cardboard and plastic pieces that were molded in a factory, and it kind of tells you what things you can buy in between adventures with the gold that you acquire. And we'll just go in Steadicam mode here for a second, or handheld mode, so you can kind of see the various pieces of tiny furniture. You've got a desk, you've got copious amounts of doorways, you got some chests in there. Armoire, a wardrobe. You got a bookshelf, it's rats and skulls on them. You've got the famous altar and the tomb piece. And over here in this menagerie, you've got dice. So, fun fact: the red dice in there are old Games Workshop dice, not Hero Quest specific. So Hero Quest, you may have seen the Milton Bradley logo on the box there, but this was a collaboration between Games Workshop and Milton Bradley. They also did the Battle Masters game, which is another collaboration, whereas this is more of a Dungeons & Dragons dungeon crawl experience. Battle Masters is more the tabletop wargaming experience, more akin to Warhammer. Again, Battle Masters is not something we currently have curated in our collection, but something we hope to obtain one day. So there's a few pieces I want to point out here. Where is it? Okay, got that. And one more guy here. Oh, so before I put the armory piece back, you have your character sheets and you have your character cards. We'll just look at the barbarian for a second and the muscularity. And you got like your attack dice, that's how many dice you roll to attack by default. Your defense dice, how many you roll to defend yourself. Body, that's like hit points and mind. Well, it's been a while since I played the game, but that's kind of like, I want to say that's like your ability points to do like abilities and magic and whatnot, if memory serves. So, we're gonna, oh, there's the torture rack. I don't know if you can see that. Yep, there it is. And now we got the armory piece back. You've got your hero figures, which are in red. This is the elf, and of course this ancient camera doesn't want to focus very well. Let's see if we can put it in my hand. kind of see that there. There's another guy that I wanted to get. So, I wanted to talk about this character a little bit. This is a Faramir. These were, well, at least the last I looked at the Forge World shop, it's the only place you can get Faramir figures anymore. It's a kind of a goblinoid type race, if memory serves. They were in a handful of, they were in this, and you can see them in some of the Warhammer fantasy role-playing books, but that's about it. It's one of those elusive races that not many people talk about. I personally like them and have a nostalgic feeling for them. Of course, I couldn't do this piece justice without talking about their stock Chaos Warrior figure, and it looks very similar to the one we unboxed in those vintage Games Workshop sprues that we looked at on the first episode. And you've got, I'll put a link to that one in here as well. This is a Chaos Sorcerer. I really wish they would do like a more nostalgic look at this sculpt, or I'm sorry, an updated look at this nostalgic sculpt is what I'm trying to say, because I just love the pose and the way it looks. Now, there is a granite-colored elephant in the room that I would like to discuss that not anyone, I don't think, has brought up with about this game. This, as we all know, for those of you HeroQuest aficionados out there, according to the game rules, is a gargoyle. So they say. But, we really know, those of us that are Games Workshop aficionados know, this is technically a Khorne bloodletter. Look at the headdress, look at the weaponry, look at the wings. If you go back and you look at older bloodletter models, they look very much like this gargoyle. So why, do you ask, would they change a demonic or demon character into a gargoyle? One, it still works, and it's still effective, still a cool sculpt, cool idea, but this is a board game intended for children. There would have been massive outcry, possibly, if there would have been a demonic villain or character in the game. This was post-Satanic Panic, and I might do an episode on that later on. But this type of character, as a demon, would have been vilified and would have such vilified the game. Possibly. Nothing happened. There's plenty of parental focus groups out there in that era that still would go up against games like this or anything that seemed odd or even just fantasy in general, and would there would be concerns addressed about certain things like, there's skull tokens and there's undead in the game. So I never completed my thought on the dice. These are old Games Workshop dice, not HeroQuest die. You got your monster cards. And there's Gargoyle. Okay, and look at the monster card. The Gargoyle is red. That's a Khorne bloodletter. You're not fooling anyone, Games Workshop, Milton Bradley. You changed it from a demon to a gargoyle so you wouldn't get in trouble. But kudos, because a lot of us may not have gotten exposed if that was truly a demon. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did. And you got spell cards too. Those I really love the artwork on the spell cards. It's one of the nostalgic things about this game. And the treasure cards, of course. And you get various types of treasure, like a gem. And I agree with the Bard. This is the correct number of cards to play a heroic adventure game. No more, no less. There's more to this game. There are expansion packs, which sadly I do not have the actual copies of. They had expansion packs for Battlemasters 2, come to find, which sadly I do not have copies of. And some of the expansions never got released in the US, like the Wizards of Morcar, which is very pricey if you try to look it up online. And it has a Necromancer character in it, and other cool wizard characters. I'll talk a little bit more about that here shortly, but yeah, so they do have expansion packs for that. They also, so there was expansions for the various classes. There's Return of the Witch King, and there is also an Advanced Hero Quest expansion pack. So that was more of like another add-on, and that's when it started to lean more into Warhammer Quest territory, which in 1995, the first edition of Warhammer Quest board game came out. And it's something we'd like to get for our collection, but we do not have yet. So there have been a couple other editions of Warhammer Quest since then. So there was Silver Tower, Warhammer Quest Silver Tower, which I do not have. They have Shadows over Hammerhall, which I'll gloss over here in a second. And most recently, the most recent edition of Warhammer Quest is Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress, which is actually based in the Warhammer 40k universe. So I mentioned Shadows over Hammerhall, so hold tight just for a second. And I actually have a copy of Warhammer Quest Shadows over Hammerhall. Expansions are hard to find and expensive for Hero Quest. So what do you want to do if you actually want to play them? Well, let me show you here in a second. And with yeoldin.com, you can print out all kinds of modules, even get STL files for 3D prints of old figurines from the other sets and the core set as well. I myself have curated a book of modules, even including the core rules, because you never know when you'll need a replacement, in this here binder for Uber Demon and myself. But yeah, we'll take a look at that here. And this here is the binder of modules I have printed off from yeoldin.com. And there's actually a Hero Quest comic book too. They had a sticker book too for kids, but it was, I don't recall seeing it, but it was, there's pictures of it online. They had a sticker book for Hero Quest. They also had a comic book, which is what this image is taken from. I just searched for Hero Quest artwork online and I found this. I figured it'd be good for the binder. Also put the Yeoldin information on the back. And I think Draith did most of the conversions, if I'm not mistaken. They don't have the website address on the back, but it gives you the copyright information for Hero Quest. So there's the front cover art. I did print off the original rules, and they have it in the exact format, so you can like make a booklet out of it, like you get with the original game. And that's kind of why I didn't show that. I also print off a secondary screen. You get this in the box, which I have in the box, just didn't show you. But again, I printed off another one, another armory sheet. This is your quest book, which you also get in the core box. It tells you your monster. There, monsters, shows you what the monsters are. There's a quote-unquote gargoyle, Khorne Bloodletter. I'm not letting that go. And you have your quests. First one's the trial. So you always start with the trial and work your way up from there. So that, and this is the aforementioned Wizards of Zargon. Zargon was the name of the evil wizard character that controls the monsters, like the dungeon master style character in the original Hero Quest. So you have your player characters, and you have Zargon. So Zargon's kind of like the dungeon master character and controls the monsters and chooses the adventure, and fights as the monsters. But in the United States, or outside the United States, Zargon was known as Morcar, which was his native name in the United Kingdom. So the actual set name in the United Kingdom was Wizards of Morcar. But here, the Yeoldin copy, or Yeoldin version, changed it from Morcar to Zargon. You can get the Morcar verbiage ones too, I believe, on their site. They do have multiple languages, if memory serves. Don't quote me on that, but it's got all the rules for that. Love the artwork. They did have additional minis to these modules as well. Like I mentioned, they had a Necromancer character in this particular setting. I even went so far as to print off the cards from Yeoldin and get some poster board and glue both sides of those together. There's the Necromancer character. You got Orc Shaman, High Mage. So what about the miniatures, you're probably thinking. How do I get miniatures for this game? Well, you can, again, get them on the secondary market, which is very expensive. I got Return of the Witch Lord here. Printer was going on the fritz, and even my magic couldn't fix it at that time. So some of these are a little spotty. apologize for that. But anyway, back to the minis. No one cares about the spottiness, the print quality. They care about the minis. A lot of you out there, or some of you out there, might be familiar with Reaper Miniatures. They make affordable fantasy miniatures for your D&D games, unpainted. And even the WizKids unpainted line, or even some of their painted miniatures, can substitute in just fine. I found a bunch of wizard characters for the Wizards of Zargon / Morkarth module. This is the ElfQuest module. That looked a lot like the characters or were that character. So I found an Orc Shaman character. I found a Necromancer character that I like to sub in. I found a High Mage character that I like to sub in for that character. Use substitutions. There's nothing wrong with that. Here we are. Here's the start of the custom modules. The Eyes of Chaos. This is one of them. And it had some neat artwork that they put into it as well. And you got like the Outer Tombs. And this uses a lot of the stocks. Plague of Zombies is another custom module. And of course I printed out the custom adventure design book, which can help build your own custom scenarios and create more of a role-playing type experience, even more so than the core game. And we got tokens that I have yet to cut and glue out onto poster board, and we've got some more tokens that I have cut out and glued on the poster board in a Ziploc bag. That's pretty much a lot of it. I could literally talk about this stuff all day. This has been a somewhat in-depth overview. I tried to cover some areas that I feel like, and the Bard's video is great. Please go watch Bardic Broadcasting's videos. He makes great content, and I wish he made more content, but he does create quality content, and you know what they say, can't rush quality. So I appreciate the content that he does put out when he does, and his Why is Hero Quest So Great video is a cornerstone of geekdom in my opinion, and says a lot of great things about the game that's in a much smaller footprint than this, and it's just funny to laugh. I remember the first time I watched that video, I laughed so hard because it could relate to everything he talked about in that video. But yeah, go check him out if you haven't yet. And yeah, like Hero Quest is a great game. If you can find a copy of it for a reasonable price, pick it up, or print and play. Check out Yield-In to do that. And again, I'll have links in the description below. So again, Patreon is live. Don't forget to throw me some coin if you have some to spare. Throw a coin to your Necromancer. Doesn't have the same ring as Witcher, but we're working on that. Don't forget to subscribe, share, toll the bell for notifications, and again, subscribe, share. Sharing is probably the most helpful thing you can do for me. Aside from donating money to the cause, we need better recording equipment. This is very ancient equipment that I'm using right now. But I appreciate all you that even take the moment to watch this video or my other videos, or watch the Lazy Mini Painter on Twitch. Looking forward to growing this community, and hope you enjoyed this video. And you'll catch us next time here on the Wizard's Mance. See you next time. Rise. 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 Oh, you're much smaller than I anticipated. Turn and face me, young man. What is your name? You don't talk much, do you? Oh, I can hear you inside my head. Say your name is Nugget. Been on lots of adventures. Be the perfect sidekick for a necromancer such as I. Been a assistant to a necromancer before. You certainly fit the bill. You'll have to do. Come on, let's go, Nugget. What has awakened me? It's been so long. Such powerful necromancy. I must bend it to my will. For now, I have escaped death through undeath. But death chases us all. It will chase me. It will chase for me. It is I Larry the Lich, and I shall live for as long as I can in undeath. Become even more powerful than I was previously by consuming all the necromantic energy that I can while I'm here.